All right, thanks for coming out. Like Steve said, hope everybody is having a great week. First of all, I want to congratulate Dawn and Lamont on their season opening wins yesterday. Obviously, cannot get to Paris for Dawn's game and was working last night during Lamont's game, but excited for the start that they had and two really good wins. And my son was at the men's basketball game last night and came back super ecstatic about Lamont's team and our basketball squad this year. I want to congratulate Shelly and Jamie Smith and our women's soccer team on their 11th straight NCAA tournament appearance. They'll kick off the NCAA tournament Friday night at home, correct? So what a great way to start the weekend. Hopefully you got the Gamecock Nation going to soccer on Friday night, and then quick turnaround with a 12 noon football game on Saturday. And then want to congratulate my man Tony Annen for our men's soccer huge win against the number one ranked team in the country the other night in the conference quarterfinal. So what great strides Tony's making with our men's soccer program, and wish them well going forward without a doubt. Let's see, got a bunch of stuff to get to on that one. So congratulations to those guys. Like I said, should have mentioned this last Saturday, but and I forgot to thank them, but want to thank our grounds crew over at our football stadium for November. That field looked amazing on Saturday, and those guys put a lot of work into it. So appreciate those guys also. And I was going to say something too and forgot all about it, but just wanted to congratulate Allen and Benedict colleges as well for the seasons that they had. And I guess Benedict's still going. Lou wrote a great article in the state newspaper last Friday about the years they're having, and pretty cool that there's other college teams, college programs in the city of Columbia. A lot that we have to offer here, and both those teams had phenomenal seasons and got a lot of respect for them, and forgot to mention that on Saturday. So that is my fault. Saturday is our Salute the Troops game. So could sit up here all day and talk about the respect and admiration I have for our military, and want to thank them for all they do for our country and the freedom they provide us and the sacrifices they make every Friday morning. That's the one morning during the week where I'm at home when my kids wake up, and we always take them to breakfast and then take them to school on Friday mornings, because that's a little bit of a later start for us. And was in a breakfast spot on Friday morning, and there was a group of soldiers from Fort Jackson that were at breakfast and came over and said hello to me and told me that they'd be a part of everything this Saturday at Williams-Brice. So excited to be a part of it, excited to see those guys on Saturday in our stadium as well, and thank them again for all they do for our country. Also have this shirt that wanted to make sure that we were all aware of as well for the 6th annual Veterans Day 5K that's presented by Boyer Construction as well. This 5K has raised over $82,000 here in this community for our local veteran and military population as well. So that'll be taking place this weekend as well. Would encourage people to support that and be a part of it as best they can. And you can find out more information at www.uscveteransday5k.com, www.uscveteransday5k.com. And thanks to Boyer Construction for all they do putting this on as well. So a lot happening this weekend, without a doubt. Got a big challenge coming in with Vanderbilt. You know, they're a team very much like us last year. They're very opportunistic on defense. They are second in the SEC in takeaways right now, so only one team in this conference has forced more turnovers than they have. But they're offensively, they've turned the ball over a lot, and that's kind of been the story of every game for them. They've been in essentially every game, had Georgia down 7-0 early. You watch them against Auburn last week. You know, Auburn really didn't do much offensively against them except for two big runs they had for touchdowns in the first half. So this is a team that, you know, is a challenge because of how opportunistic they are on defense, and then they have weapons. I have a ton of respect for Clark and the way that he continues to elevate his program. I remember last year after we beat them up in Nashville, they went on and beat Kentucky and Lexington, and then beat Florida the week after we lost to Florida. So they We know that we'll get their best shot on Saturday. He's doing a great job with this program, continuing to elevate it. They're playing hard. You see the emotion they play with on the field and on the sidelines also, and it's very evident that his players have bought into what he and his staff are doing, and it'll be a big challenge for us. One thing that stands out with them is just the size they present. You know, they're playing multiple quarterbacks, one of which is 6'7", 235 pounds as a quarterback, so he's a load to bring down in the run game. They got skill players at the receiver position with size, and then you just look at their defense. They have a defensive tackle that's 6'7", 305. Their defensive ends are 6'5", 280 and 6'6", 240. They have a linebacker that's 6'3", 250. They have a corner that's 227 pounds, and they have their safety is 6'4", 217 pounds. So they present a lot of problems, and we'll have to play very well. Without a doubt. Injury-wise for us, Trey Jones will be out. He will not play this week. DeCarrion Joyner will be out this week. Hopefully we'll get him back soon. And Trey Knox, I would say, is questionable for this week. He did a little bit out there at practice today. And hopefully he will be okay and ready to go also. Certainly want to thank our fans again for the environment they created on Saturday. I mentioned it in the teleconference on Sunday night, but had one of the top players in the entire country for next year that was in my office at 9 a.m. Sunday morning that was here for a unofficial visit, was at the game on Saturday, and I said, what stood out to you about the game yesterday? And he said the atmosphere and the environment. It was awesome. And this is a guy that was here 2 years ago for our Florida game when we beat them in November at night, and he was here last year for the Georgia game. So he's been to other South Carolina home games, and he brought up the atmosphere. I know a noon kickoff isn't always easy because people are having to travel from different places and things like that as well. But it was an awesome environment. I want to thank our fans for that. And then going back to what I said after the game on Saturday, we are always going to celebrate wins here, guys. And we put a lot of work into Saturdays, and we only get 12 of them. And some of them are really big and convincing, and we play great, and some of them are ugly as heck, and we don't play great. But at the end of the day, we won the football game, and then we are going to celebrate that, which is what we did. And it is still okay to be happy and celebrate a win, but be disappointed in how you played and be critical of how we played. I walked out of that press conference with you guys on Saturday afternoon, and I hadn't been 3 feet in the hallway, and I'm catching heck from my own family about the fake punt and how dumb they thought that was. So it's okay to be critical. And that's the point that I was trying to make, but I don't think it's okay to be unhappy and miserable after a win. Players or coaches or fans. We have the greatest fans in America. And if they walked out of that stadium on Saturday critical of me, that's okay. I deserved it. Disappointed in how we played and didn't look great? Absolutely. They're exactly right. But I would hope that if you're a Gamecock fan, that you didn't walk out of that stadium miserable and unhappy because we won the football game. And that was the point that I was trying to make. We get 7 Saturdays. I think we had 7 home games this year, right? Yeah, 7 home games. That's it. So Gamecock Nation, you get to come together in Columbia, South Carolina, 7 Saturdays a year, family, friends, everybody together. It was a beautiful Saturday in Columbia, South Carolina, an awesome day in Williams-Brice Stadium for Gamecock Nation to come together. And don't take that for granted. And when you got back in your car and I drove home, it's okay to be disappointed in the way that we performed and coached, because I was when I drove 4.5 miles from the stadium to my house. Or somebody drove back home to Rock Hill or Greenwood or Spartanburg or Greenville or Charleston or Myrtle Beach or Augusta or Aiken, wherever they came from, and be disappointed in the product on the field. We deserve that because it was not good enough, and we came in here on Sunday as a team. And we're very clear about that. Me to the coaches, that it was unacceptable, and me to our players as well, that if we play like we did last Saturday, we will not win this week. And we will not win next week, and we will not win the week after. We need to be better, and that was very evident to me, and that starts with me as the head coach. But I would hope that nobody walked out of that stadium just unhappy. As ugly as it might have been, the Gamecocks won the football game Saturday, guys. And there's a lot of teams across the country that did not win their football game on Saturday, and that was the point I was trying to make. And if we won on a beautiful Saturday afternoon and you were unhappy and miserable, then you probably do need to find some joy and celebrate wins a little bit more as well. But I'm a guy that's always going to celebrate wins. I've been a part of teams where the head coach walked in the locker room after a win and absolutely blistered that team, and they didn't win a game the rest of the year. And I said that I will never do that as a head coach. Are we going to hold them accountable? Did I tell them in the locker room Saturday that we need to be a whole lot better and that we were nowhere near our best and that we got a lot to clean up? Yes, but we're also going to celebrate and never walk out of a locker room feeling like we lost the football game. And I would hope our fans, who are the greatest fans in America, walked out of Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday, you know what, disappointed in maybe some things that happened and how we performed and self-inflicted mistakes, because I was as the head coach as well. But I was happy as heck because we won that football game. And I went home on Saturday night and had a great time with my family and enjoyed the victory because a lot of work went into it, and then got right back up here early Sunday morning and was right back to work, cleaning a lot up. And positive energy is a core value of this program, and I probably wasn't a lot of fun to be around on Sunday because it wasn't good enough, and I'm well aware of that. But I'm never going to go in a locker room and crush a team after a game or come in a locker room and come into or whatever. We need to be better, and we will be. That's enough of that, but hope everybody knows where I'm coming from. Passionate about what the product on the field, but also passionate about the kids in our program, young men in our program, and they put a lot into Saturdays, and when they're successful, I want them to enjoy it. So David's on his way back. Does Gene get the first question again? Pete! Wow, big day. Big moments.
I'll play, yeah, really, after 30 years, you know. I'll play the David role. Injuries how's Juice doing? Is there any chance of him being here?
I would say he's okay, and I know you got to ask the question. Like, I would just say if it gets to the point these next 3 games where Juice is able to play, I'll let you know. And I don't want to come in here every single week. He's basically out until I tell you otherwise, and don't anticipate him playing this week. But I'm not trying to BS you. Like, there's a chance that he could play. It's just kind of where he is mentally and where he is physically and where we are with things. He told you guys on the teleconference Sunday, he ran on Sunday. He ran well. He was out at practice today, and he didn't practice today, but he was out there. So he continues to get closer and closer, but he's out right now. That could change tomorrow. That could change next week, but I don't really know. Kind of just a day-to-day type thing. That was your 30 years, and that was an injury question? I do, too. I like Juice on the field, too.
Shane, Xavier Legette is closing in on joining some pretty elite Gamecock receiver company. He'd be just the 5th wide receiver. I think it's happened 5 times, but he'd be the 5th. I think Sidney did it twice to eclipse 1,000 yards receiving in a season. I know you worked with Alshon. You went up against Sidney Rice. You went up against Pharaoh Cooper during your days at Georgia and Mississippi State, but outside of the things that you've told us this season, what are some of the things maybe behind the scenes that make Xavier so special and make guys like yourself, this coaching staff, this team, so happy for him, knowing that he's been able to do so much with running with the baton as being the number 1 receiver?
Yeah, there's so much. He's basically the one thing that stands out is he's like the DJ before the team meetings. He's usually in charge of the music that we play next door. So you never know what you're going to hear at 7:55 on a Tuesday morning that he's got playing. Usually I can tell Zay's mood based on how into the song he is. And he's got a pretty good gift of it, because usually I'll walk in, or a lot of times I'll walk in and the whole room will be like singing along to whatever song he's picked and things like that. So he's a great teammate, and I joke, but that's true. I mean, he's very engaged. Probably to me, Mike, is just how smart he is. And yes, he plays really hard. He works really hard. That's evident based on the progress that he's made, and what he's doing this season. But I say that, like, we're asking a lot of him. Obviously, if you watch us closely, which I know you guys do, like, he's not lining up in the same place every time, because we're not going to just say, okay, he's always the X receiver, or he's always the Z receiver, or he's always going to be on the left or the right or to the field or to the boundary, because obviously if teams know that, they're going to be able to roll coverage to him and things like that. So he does a lot, really all 3 of our wide receiver positions. If you think about, the outside guys, the guy in the slot, he knows it all and does it all. And and does it well. Sometimes you take for granted how smart he and Spencer are because you can do a lot of different things with them. So that's one thing that stands out to me beyond just the ability on the field is just he's a great teammate, works hard, and just how intelligent he is from a football standpoint. Like he gets it, and things just make sense to him.
You've been critical, Saturday and Sunday night about the run game, run defense. What's worked best for you guys with run defense that you think you might be able to, emphasize and go back to?
I think we've been a little bit. I think we've been a little bit better statistically, I don't know exactly, but I think we're better than what we were last year as far as yards. Now, Saturday wasn't good enough, and we talked about that, but that was allowing them to run the ball 57 times. I think we've been kind of found I don't want to say a niche, but we've mixed up the fronts recently in that we haven't always been out there with two defensive tackles, two defensive ends, against and we've always had that Okie package or whatever you want to call it, but having three defensive linemen where you play with a true nose tackle, and that's been Nick Barrett for us, where he's aligned directly over the center, and then we have two defensive ends and a couple outside linebackers. That's been good for us. And then also what we started doing against A&M, where we got Jaron Willis and or Bam Scott on the field at the same time, where that's more of like a three defensive lineman package. So to answer your question, Gene, I think just the fact that we've being a little bit more multiple has helped us in the run game and the pass game and getting pressure. If you look at us, I would argue that we've affected the quarterback more the last two games as far as at least being in the backfield and hitting him. Not enough, but more. And part of that was guys, even on Stone's interception for a touchdown the other day, the pressure we had, it was a zero blitz where we brought two linebackers and played man-to-man behind it with no help. One rusher off the left side, as the defense looks at it, was Debo, but the other rusher was Jalen Kilgore, who's our nickel coming off the edge. And both those guys did a good job of getting back there and hitting the quarterback. So to answer your question, I think just being a little bit more multiple. We base out of a four-down defense, four defensive linemen, but being a little bit more multiple with our packages. And then also we don't have, 300. Nick Barrett's a big guy, but Boogie and Tonka and TJ, they're not your 330-pound defensive tackles. So we've got to do a good job of just not asking those guys to take on double teams all day. We've got to be able to move them and slant and angle and things like that. And I think we've done a little bit more of that and a little bit better job of that the last, throughout the season, if you will.
Hey, Shane, the struggles that you had on third down on offense Saturday, Spencer said you had some good calls, but Jacksonville State, they played better. In his words, they played harder. How are you addressing that this week?
That they played better or that they played harder or both? Yeah, that kind of goes back to some of the things that we talked about on Sunday, Rick, as a team and how we need to be better. And your tape is your resume, and at times Saturday our effort was not good enough, but at times Saturday our effort was really, really good. I go back to Mario Anderson's long run to start the game. You see, Xavier Legette blocking, and you see Juju McDowell downfield blocking. Or you go back to me, one of the biggest plays in that game Saturday was it was in the third quarter, and it was third and long, and we were in man-free coverage. I think I talked about this Sunday night. We were in man-free coverage, so there's no help if the quarterback scrambles, and the quarterback for Jacksonville State started to run, and Boogie Huntley comes from the backside, runs the guy down, and makes a solo tackle on their quarterback or it's about to be a first down, and they're leading at that point. So there were some great individual efforts, but the disappointing thing for me was the effort. The effort was just not consistent enough, and we need to be better. There's no doubt about it, and that's on me, and was really disappointing to see on Saturday. As far as third down, we were 4 of 14, I think, the other day against Jacksonville State, and that's not going to cut it. I don't know how much of it was necessarily them playing harder. I don't know if I saw it quite the same on third downs. I think we've got to execute better. We can't turn rushers free. We can't get, beat. we got to throw and catch and make those third downs, And we did when it counted. I mean, at the very end of the game, we're trying to run out the clock. We can't take a knee yet, and that was a third down conversion. Josh Simon, I mean, that was a big one there at the end of the game. But before that one, we were 3 of 13, I guess. So we need to be better. There's no doubt about it.
Hey, you've talked about staying positive and enjoying the wins this year. So with Spencer, it seems like he has been very helpful with the team. What can you say about him as a leader and how he's helped you kind of go through some of the ups and downs of this season?
Yeah, he's been awesome. We had one of the main scouts or personnel people for the Denver Broncos was here today, and he asked me the same question, and I was like, the guy's been phenomenal. I mean, just if anybody has a right or had a right or if anybody was in a position to voice frustrations about something, it would be him, because he's been sacked a lot. He's been hit a lot. We've had offensive linemen hurt. We've had his all-conference receiver that from last year out all year, but never once has he. And he's just steady and consistent. He's done a great job just lifting up those young linemen that are protecting him and helping them, lifting up Nicholas Harbor and continuing to bring him along. Tyshawn Russell, another freshman receiver. He's really done a good job of elevating the people around him throughout the team, and then just being steady and consistent. All eyes are going to be, when things are good, things are bad, all eyes are going to be typically on the head coach and the quarterback, and he knows that. And if anything, the way that he's handled things this season has only helped him, in my mind, with the NFL when his time is up, for sure.
You've talked about it a lot, and of complementary football, and even the deep touchdown to Xavier Legette. You're kind of looking at the defense like, oh man, they got to get right back on the field, and that can't be easy. What is the key to complementary football, and how do you try and teach that or preach that to your coaches and players?
Yeah, I think just showing examples and how it all ties together. I told the team on Sunday, like, I made a dumb call on that fake punt and we didn't execute it the right way. To me, that was complementary football. To me, complementary football is having each other's backs. And we talked about it before the Tennessee game last year that, look, we're going to be aggressive on fourth down. And if we go for some of these fourth downs and don't get it, defense, you got to have the offense's back. Saturday, to me, was a great example of that. We went for the fake punt. We didn't get it. The defense went right back out and had my back by getting a 3-and-out and getting the ball right back to the offense. So to me, it's just continuing to emphasize it, show examples in our games, but then show examples in other games as well, when it happens, where other teams maybe do a good job of playing complementary football or not playing complementary football. So we always start, every team meeting on Tuesday, I'll just show some examples of things that have happened across the NFL, across college football, just situational things. But a lot of that is teams playing complementary football and how it all works together.
Shane, it's been such a long time since camp opened that even if you're not injured, you're still banged up, all these players. Do you taper things down this time of year, and how hard an inclination is that when, you want to drill more in order to get things right?
Yeah, great question. There's a fine balance that you always try and strike, and this year it's a little bit different just because we've had so many injuries. I was looking back. I spent a lot of time kind of creating, and we don't really deviate a ton week to week, but just building the practice schedule for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, particularly Tuesday and Wednesday during the week, because those are our two main days. And looking back at what we did this week last year, what we did the Tennessee week, Clemson week, 2 years ago, Florida, Auburn, and whatnot as well. So yes, you do taper. It's a long season, and we talked about it this morning in our team meeting. Like, every team in America right now is beat up and tired, and coaches, players, and sore, and it's been a long time since the season started. And we also talked about, a lot of you guys, all y'all want to play in the NFL, or these NFL games teams got like 9 games left, I think, some of them. So if you think this is tough, just wait till you get to the next level. But certainly each and every week is different. You got to strike that balance between making sure you get enough good work during the week, where you're ready to play, but then also you want to make sure you get everybody to Saturday healthy also. So yes, we taper things. The Tuesday practice we had this morning was a little bit different than last Tuesday. Maybe one change was we did a couple last Tuesday or today we worked a couple like last plays of the game scenario, just a competitive deal, offense versus defense, that we didn't do last week because last week we did. I'm trying to think what we did during that time. Just more, it's something competitive, so it was a little bit of a tweak. We did less plays. We always do like team run, offense versus defense. And today we did it a little bit different where it was still intense and it was still good on good, but it was less plays. And you just try and, what do you need for that particular week to be ready to play, but also be healthy also. But it's been more of a challenge this season for sure just because of the injuries.
Shane, after the game Saturday, you talked about how when you go through a losing streak, it can be draining both mentally and physically. Well, after getting a big win on Saturday, what's been the mood of the guys around the facility and during practice?
It's been good. I credit our players, Rick, because they're very consistent and they're never like too high or too low. And even after the losses, they came in on Sundays and certainly were disappointed. But like I've told you guys, they've always responded and practiced well the next week. Certainly Sundays are a little bit more enjoyable, or a lot more enjoyable after a win. But we came in on Sunday and we showed the good from Saturday, which there was a lot of good. And then we showed the bad from Saturday, which there was plenty of also. And then we learned from it and hold each other accountable. But the mood's been good. I think it's a sense of that we can play and perform a lot better than what we did Saturday, and give Jacksonville State a lot of credit for that too. I mean, they're a challenging team and presented a lot of problems. But us knowing that we can and need to perform a lot better than what we did last Saturday, but also enjoying the win also. So I'd say it's been a good week, but also there's been a little bit of an edge to the week also, knowing that we need to be better than what we were last Saturday.
Stone was talking about, he came in last season kind of towards right before fall camp and was asked to do a lot really quickly and kind of felt the pressure of that is what he was saying. Mm-hmm. This year, do you notice that he's playing more free? And even on that interception, it didn't seem like he thought for more than a half second before he was getting to the spot he needed to get to.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I think it started, he was highly recruited for a reason and got a great family. His mom and dad are amazing. And really enjoyed getting to know him throughout the recruiting process. And he's just a solid young man. But yes, he came in last season and was asked to do some things early, did some good things on special teams, played a lot in the bowl game, obviously against Notre Dame. I think it started in January. He lost weight. His body changed. He looks different than what he did last year. That helps him with how fast he's moving around and just has taken on a more significant role, but prepared himself mentally and physically to take on that role. He's always, I think I mentioned to you guys, like he's always, the linebacker meeting room is down the hall there. He's always in that room, even when he doesn't have to be. He's in there watching tape. He's just a gym rat. And I thought he showed great instincts on that play on Saturday. Phil's not in here, but Phil asked me after the game if he was like in the right place or he just like fell into it. Yeah, he was in the right place. And going back and watching the tape, it's even more impressive. Like I told you guys, it was a 0 blitz where we rushed 6, which means you've got 5 people to cover their 5 eligible receivers. So the 4 DBs are on the 4 receivers or tight end, and Stone as the linebacker has the running back man-to-man, and they really had a great call for what we had on if they can protect it. And a lot of times you'll see a linebacker kind of run through the receivers and get picked off, and if he does that, it's probably a touchdown. But he had enough instinct and film study to kind of recognize what was going on. One, didn't allow himself to get picked, rubbed, whatever you want to call it, didn't allow himself to get caught up in the trash there, and then showed the instincts to get through it, find the guy that he was covering, and then find the ball and make a play on it. So I thought it was a great play, and it just kind of goes back to who he is as a player and who he is as a person.
During the sideline interview during the game on Saturday, I think you were expressing some displeasure over the fundamentals on defense with bad angles and missed tackles and things like that. Has that been a consistent thing you've seen throughout the season when things are not going well defensively?
No, if my memory is correct, that was right after we had them like 3rd and long, and they threw the ball out to the guy, and then we overran it, and he ran all the way back across the field to the other sideline. So they caught me at a bad time coming off that one because that was a tough play to watch and for different reasons. But no, I don't think so. I don't think I've ever I see it in practice that we've done a solid job of it. I go back and if you go back and look at a lot of our plays this year, Hale, I don't think there's a lot of them where you would say that it was that we missed too many tackles or took bad angles or whatnot. You know, there's times where we've been in position to make the tackle and then physically we just didn't get it done. I'll be the first to admit that, but I don't watch us from a tackling angle fundamental standpoint saying that we've been awful. Now, have we been great? No, we need to be better. I mean, there were plays the other day where we've got to, get off a block better and make a tackle and things like that. But those are all things that we continue to emphasize and just need to do a better job, starting with me, of emphasizing it more, without a doubt. All right. Thank you, guys.